Rare Beauty, obviously founded by Selena Gomez, is one of the most popular makeup brands on the market at the moment. The company, which has a platform of philanthropy and spreading awareness of the importance of mental health, is beloved by critics and makeup fans alike. But I have some concerns about the business side of the company that really pull into question the validity of all of their claims. Selena Gomez was already majorly famous by the time her brand began in 2020, and so the launch of the brand heavily focused on her celebrity status. However, it wasn't limited to the usual celebrity launch approach that focuses more on the celebrity than the product. Instead, Rare Beauty had a platform that evolved on this celebrity endorsement concept to form a new differentiator. In 2018, Selena Gomez underwent a kidney transplant due to complications from lupus. This was widely known by the public, and especially her fans grew a sense of sympathy for her. This brought a lot of attention to lupus in general, which is an autoimmune disease that affects the body's organs and tissues. But importantly for the brand, and for this video, to mental health as well, something that Gomez personally struggled with due to her lupus diagnosis. Rare Beauty would use this publicity to form a business core of philanthropy, helping people with their mental health. This gave the company right from the outset a sense of authenticity. They didn't simply take lupus and try to garner sympathy from it, but they focused on how that had affected Selena directly, and they went from there. It's a much more personal approach to a platform, definitely helped by her Apple documentary and social media, where she'd been very open about her mental health struggles with depression, anxiety, and panic attacks since returning to social media with this post in 2019. So when Selena began working on Rare Beauty in 2019, before it was officially launched, this was the foundation of why she wanted to make the business: to promote mental health awareness, to support and make people feel naturally beautiful, to help combat their own mental health struggles. This was meant as the differentiator of Rare to give them an edge above their competitors, and it was heavily communicated to their audience. As an extension of this, the Rare Impact Fund was launched in July 2020, 2 months before the beauty brand launched, as a project of the Hopewell Fund, which is a non-profit left-leaning advocacy organization, with the CEO for Rare Impact Fund being Scott Friedman, the same CEO as Rare Beauty LLC. The fund was created with the aim of increasing awareness to mental health resources and supporting underserved communities. They had an initial goal of raising $100 million over the next 10 years for various charities in the form of things like grants and donations to mental health resources, education, and awareness. But this, honestly, was my first concern with the company. Oftentimes, when celebrities begin a charity or a church, it's either to get good PR, or it's to get heavy tax rebates, or even to be exempt from certain types of tax, like income tax, especially in America, where the Rare Impact Fund is based, and through Hopewell, is registered for exemption of income tax. However, I'm actually going to have to put a pin in this and come back to it in a little bit, because it actually got a lot darker the more I looked into the Hopewell Fund. But in order to understand the reason that this became concerning and may be the downfall of the company, we have to first establish who Rare Beauty presents themselves as and who their customer is. So, a few months later in September 2020, Rare Beauty launched with foundations, concealers, lipsticks, and eyeshadows designed to be inclusive and cater to a wide range of skin tone types. The products were made to be inclusive of everyone, and so had an appropriately affordable price. They were vegan and cruelty-free, while the packaging was made of recycled materials and printed with water-based ink. They also geared the design of the packaging with accessibility in mind, especially with physically disabled people. For example, the spherical top on blush, highlighters, and foundation offers more of an easy-to-grip shape. So, a lot of this brand is made to be very ethical, left-leaning, and catered towards a younger audience that genuinely does believe in these platforms and wants to put their money into something that is aligned with their personal beliefs. Furthermore, it was stocked right from its inception by Sephora in the US, which is one of the most popular retail stores for this demographic, or alternatively, it was also available on their website. In terms of customer reception, Rare Beauty was very well received by both customers and critics because of their inclusivity and commitment to ethical issues, as well as having a decent enough product. It wasn't a massively special product, but when mixed with the messaging, it was good enough for people to want to support the brand. This was also very evident through their marketing, which largely used social media as well as influencer endorsement, like this video from Jackie Aina, who I assume got sent this as PR, and talks several times about the brand's philanthropic efforts. But what's really interesting about the launch of Rare Beauty is that it wasn't really focused on the quality of the product. Usually with a celebrity brand, you can tell that it will be successful in the long term if the product is at the forefront of the business instead of the celebrity. Think like Pleasing by Harry Styles, or even Fenty, who, though heavily feature Rihanna, can attribute their success to the foundation range more than Rihanna's endorsement. Simply, it just looks to a consumer like more effort has been put into the product and therefore tends to give the brand a longer life. But Rare had more of an emphasis on this whole ethical branding and philanthropic effort than anything else, and of course because Selena is such a huge star, on Selena's authentic endorsement of it. This brings up two concerns. The first concern with the company is that it had such a heavy emphasis on Selena Gomez herself and her struggles with mental health, which in fairness did give a great boost of exposure to the beginning of the company, even helping them achieve their $60 million revenue in the first year of sales. But with even the name of the company being based off of her album name, she is heavily tied to the brand, which can be a point of weakness if she does ever fall out of public favor. And the second concern is just generally for the charitable side's authenticity. The Rare Impact Fund is great for the business. It promotes both the beauty brand and the fund with each large donation that they make or pass on, including for things like their partnership with Crisis Text Line, so it is great for ongoing PR. However, it's important to note that the Rare Impact Fund is not a charity. It's a fiscally sponsored project created by the Hopewell Fund, which itself is the charity. So the Rare Impact Fund individually does not file public tax returns because it is not a charity. This to me was the first red flag that I was right in my suspicions that this is inauthentic and perhaps created for tax reasons. So I pulled up more of the Hopewell tax filings and cross-referenced them with this article, which is from a website called Deadspin.com that I will link below. The website Deadspin was concerned with the NFL's suspicious charitable donations in the wake of Black Lives Matter. Honestly, I know nothing about NFL, which is why I cross-referenced this, but they turned out to be right. The Hopewell Fund is heavily entwined with two more companies, Arabella Advisors LLC, who run the fund, and the New Venture Fund, who pay Arabella for administrative services for Hopewell. Arabella is run by this man, Eric Kessler, who owns 35% according to the Hopewell tax returns, but is the founder of this incredibly politically motivated company that is known to sponsor hundreds of fake charitable groups that are made to look like standalone activist groups, which unfortunately pulls into question the validity of the Rare Impact Fund. Under further investigation, and with help from this small book titled Big Money in Dark Shadows, Arabella Advisors' $500 million dark money network, it becomes clear that the company knows what they're doing in creating this web of companies. To quote the book, Arabella Advisors and its 4 funds are an unregistered lobbying group in charities' clothing. Though in fairness, that doesn't mean that they aren't charitable, funding things like the NFL Players Coalition and Planned Parenthood. I do strongly recommend the book if you are interested, as I am, in the business's inner working, so I will link it below, as it provides a fantastic light into a company that uses this quote-unquote guise of being a charity in order to raise money for political lobbying, specifically left-wing political lobbying. I should also make it clear that these kinds of companies are not uncommon. There are a lot of these companies globally for both left and right-wing politics that perform under the guise of charities to directly fund politicians. It can be considered unethical, sure, but balanced with the knowledge that this kind of political lobbying happens at both sides, it then becomes a debate into whether we're better off with the devil we know, or if not, how we can go about dismantling the almost two-party system that not only affects America, but England and many other countries. This is not a video to discuss that. but rather to question why Rare Beauty would become so entangled with this. It's just confusing. I can understand on the surface level that this kind of left-wing politics is what Selena must personally believe in, and it goes with the ethos of the company, even actively helping them achieve their goal of raising funds and awareness for mental health. And just to be clear, helping raise awareness and funds for mental health awareness related things is a really great, important thing. However, I don't quite understand, if it is such an integral part of the company, why wouldn't they set it up as a real charity without Hopewell? Miley Cyrus did it with Happy Hippie, Elton John with his AIDS Foundation, so it is possible if she really wanted to make a difference. Why then, instead of that, align themselves with a company that deals so much in the shadows, especially when a mere 1% of sales goes to the project? Even as an alternative, they could have just partnered with one of the 1.5 million registered nonprofits in America to whom to donate the funds and had the same impact, maybe more because it would have had less costs even. But obviously, that would have had less of an ongoing positive PR impact for the business, which is, in my opinion, why the Rare Impact Fund exists in the first place. It is their differentiator after all. This is the real hang-up that I have about the company. It brings into question the validity of this perceived authenticity that the company benefits from as its main differentiator to its competitors. A lot of this too is hidden through clever wordplay to avoid saying that this simply technically is not a charity. Even just reading through the About Us section on the site, you can see it doesn't mention that it's a charity at all, and the only mention of a charity is at the very bottom, where it says the Rare Impact Fund is a project of Hopewell, which to me is suspicious. So with that established, how may that impact the business from a consumer perspective? What happens when this comes more into light? Will it matter to her customer base, who we know are more left-leaning anyway? Does the good outweigh the suspicious? And for Hopewell, are we looking at a business that might have some kind of huge scandal, one brought on by itself by bringing in celebrity endorsement? Or is this Arabella advisor company big enough to cover it up? I genuinely don't have the answer to this. Only time will tell if her customer base will begin to know about this, and if then they'll even really care. Realistically, it is aligned with how her customer base thinks on political topics, and they have genuinely raised a lot of awareness and money for mental health. But should this come to light, the brand doesn't really have another differentiator if this turns sour. They're really well loved for products like their foundation and blush, but realistically, they are quite similar to the other products on the market. And without this charitable aspect to the company, and potentially their authenticity being tarnished, what is their competitive advantage to brands like Fenty, House Labs, and Huda Beauty? The company has been growing very quickly, winning several awards since its launch, and though I couldn't find exact figures, they have pledged to donate millions, including 100 million over the next 10 years and 1.2 million in terms of grants. So if they meet those goals, they could raise millions for raising awareness of mental health. The success of the company, especially at a time when consumers were so tired of the never-ending stream of celebrity beauty brands, is extremely commendable. But I can't help but wonder what the future of the company really is. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos like this one. Check out my fashion channel for more videos like this, but about fashion. And if you want early access to any videos, feel free to join my Patreon.